Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Now I'll be taking apart my Baja and do a complete overhaul because this vehicle has been sitting idle for a few years and I have to replace and repair some parts on it, and I've already ordered the parts which I need. So the pull start needs to be replaced, so I have the new one with me. Here I also have the brake pads, and the bushings inside the spur gear are worn out, so I've ordered the new ones. It's always best to have these in spare, especially if the vehicle is just idle for a long time. And a set of fuel pipes, a fuel clunk and a carburetor. And because I'll also rebuild the engine, I have the gaskets which I'll need. And to work on the engine, we will also need the flywheel puller and the piston stopper, and these two are a must-have in order to work on the engine. And I've also got a new 26cc piston with me. Alright then, so let's begin with the disassembly of the Baja 5P. Firstly, I'll remove the roll cage, and for that we have two body clips at the front which we have to remove. Next, I'll remove the rear wing, so take apart the two body clips for that. Now with the 3mm hex wrench, I'll remove the wing mount. So we need to remove the 4 screws which are here. Next, with the 2.5mm hex wrench, we will remove the spark plug cover. And now we can easily remove the roll cage. Next, I'll remove the arm from the throttle servo. Here I'll remove the spur gear cover. So just 2 clips which hold it in place. And to remove the spur gear, we have to remove the E-clip. So use a flathead screwdriver and push it. And you should be able to slide the spur gear outside. Now to install the new bushings in the spur gear, we will have to separate the spur gear assembly. So I'm using this circular base of the foam tape for support, and with the 8mm hex wrench, I'll just pop it from the center, and the spur gear assembly should separate. And make sure to clean the spur gear before you insert the new bushings. Now these bushings are dry from the factory, so we need to lubricate them with the silicone diff oil that we get with the Baja. And insert them in the spur gear. And install the top cover. And press it firmly so that it's in place. And just gently tap or hammer so that it's flush and secured. Next, I'll remove the throttle linkage. So here there's a grab screw which will hold the linkage for the brake assembly. Remove that. and also remove the screw which holds the linkage on the carburetor. And then we can remove the throttle linkage from the vehicle. Inspect the throttle linkage and make sure it's not bent or cracked. Next, with the 3mm hex wrench, we will remove the screws which hold the aluminium spur gear plate, and remove all the screws evenly so that to avoid stressing any one particular screw. And you should be able to slide the plate outside. Next, we will remove the brake assembly. We need to remove these 3 screws over here, again with the 3mm hex wrench. Now these screws are a bit long, so we need to wrench a bit. And once you remove the screws, you can check the brake pads. The brake pads that I have are still alright and I could use them. And next, you should be able to slide the bearing mount for the drive shaft. Inspect the bearing and see if it spins freely. Here we have a spacer which will hold the top plate for the brake assembly, and then you should be able to slide the metal plates for the brake pads. Now to remove the clutch bell or the clutch housing, we need to remove these 4 screws. Now here, if you want, you can remove this plastic support for the roll cage and remove the clutch carrier, or else remove this screw over here which holds the engine on the left side, and pop the spacer. Separate the ignition cap from the spark plug and remove the spark plug as well. And inspect your spark plug if it needs to be replaced or cleaned. Disassemble the fuel lines from the carburetor. And also remove the air filter. Now I'll flip the vehicle upside down, and on the bottom, in order to remove the engine, we have 3 screws, and to remove them we will need the 3mm hex wrench. And make sure to use a good quality tool set for this, because it's easy to strip these screws. You don't want to strip the screws and spend more time trying to remove them. And to make this process a bit easier, I'm holding the engine from the bottom to reduce the stress on the screws. So once you remove the 3 screws which hold the engine in place, we can now lift the engine from the chassis, and this spacer or support will fall off, which is placed underneath the clutch housing, and then you can remove the clutch carrier easily. Next, I'll remove the carburetor. So remove these 2 screws. And now we can remove the engine all the way. Now this engine that I have has a 26cc piston in it, and I've owned this Baja for 12 years, and throughout these 12 years I've never rebuilt my engine, or I've never taken it apart all the way. I've never had any problems with it. Next, I'll remove the fuel tank. So the fuel tank is held in place by 3 body clips. And to remove the fuel tank, we need to lift the battery box a bit so that we can slide the fuel tank easily. I'll clean this and replace the clunk. To remove the rubber grommet, use a flathead screwdriver and gently pop it. Inspect the rubber parts and make sure that it's not cracked or torn apart. Alright, so the engine has been separated, and we will move on to the disassembly part of the engine itself. So that's in the next video.